Welcome to Mountain Strong. Today our family is in Juneau, Alaska, and we're getting a chance to look at the Mendenhall Glacier, which is a part of the Tongass or however you say that, forest, national forest, I believe. And one of the attractions here at the Mendenhall Glacier is, surprisingly, a waterfall. And so you can see behind me a beautiful waterfall, one of hundreds, if not thousands, here in the state of Alaska. One of the things that we don't have to worry about much in Alaska is drought, and especially here in the city of Juneau. I was told that they actually get 230 days or so of rain or snow a year, and given that there are only 365 days in the year, that makes it to where it's obviously wet a lot of the time. But anyway, God has blessed us with a beautiful sunny day today and a great opportunity to study Psalm 54 together. Let's read now. O God, save me by your name and vindicate me by your might. O God, hear my prayer. Give ear to the words of my mouth. For strangers have risen against me. Ruthless men seek my life. They do not set God before themselves. Behold, God is my helper. The Lord is the upholder of my life. He will return the evil to my enemies. In your faithfulness, put an end to them. With a freewill offering, I will sacrifice to you. I will give thanks to your name, O Lord, for it is good. For he has delivered me from every trouble, and my eye has looked in triumph on my enemies. We have a number of sayings in our culture that actually caution us against the kind of thing that we see happening right here in this psalm. We have a saying, don't count your eggs before they are hatched. In other words, don't depend upon those eggs that you have to turn into chickens. There is a saying that they use all the time in my favorite sport, Australian rules football, that he spent it before he earned it. In other words, he thought the ball was going to come to him, and so he pretended as though it already had when it had not yet come. He spent it before he earned it. And so the ideas that are implanted upon us by these kind of sayings is that we need to actually wait until something happens in order to react or respond to it. But that's not how faith works. In fact, faith is the exact opposite of that. Faith actually calls us to look and see the unseen, to look beyond the situation, beyond the moment, and see the eternal. And that's exactly what we see happening in this psalm. The psalmist is calling out to God, and there are two things that he takes confidence in as he does so. He calls upon God knowing that his name is what it is. In other words, when he says by your name, he's saying you're going to do this because you have an honorable name. And then he says, save me by your might. In other words, you're a strong and mighty God. So he's an honorable God, he's a mighty God, and therefore he knows in going to prayer to him that God is able to help him. In verse 3, though, he's in a dire situation. He's on the run for his life. There are strangers who are seeking his life. There are ruthless men who are after him, so much so that it causes him to pause for a moment and to remember who he is and remember who he is bringing this prayer to. In verse 4, he sees God as a helper, as an upholder of life. And because God is those things, he knows that God is going to take care of this too. In verse 5, he says, he will return the evil to my enemies. He knows it's going to happen. He sees it through faith. And again, in verse 5, he says, in your faithfulness, put an end to them. The Psalms do a wonderful job of teaching us how we should pray. If we're going to make a request to God, if we're going to call upon God for his help, we have to see that he is able to do so and see the solution that we hope to receive from him through faith. So before he says, put an end to them, he says he will return the evil to my enemies. God will take care of this. So he says, God, please take care of this. In verse 6, though, he does something surprising. He says, I'm going to offer a free will offering to you. I'm going to give you thanksgiving. I'm going to sacrifice to you as though you've already done something, when the psalmist knows clearly that it has not happened yet. What's going on here? Why would he give thanks for something that he had not yet received? Because once again, he sees it through faith. It's as good as real for him, and he can offer thanks out of that faith. Notice how in verse 7, his faith has caused him once again to see that solution. He has delivered, past tense, me from every trouble, and my eye has looked in triumph, past tense, looked on my enemies. He can see the solution. And so when we go to God in prayer, I don't want you to get into the habit of not counting your eggs before they've hatched. God is real. And when we go to him, We are accessing real power, real might, as the song says in verse 1. We're going to a God who can save. Now, I know that not every time God is going to answer our prayer as we hope He will. But I know that in all these things, whatever God sees fit to leave me in terms of struggle, in all these things I am more than a conqueror. And so out of that I can certainly give thanks and know that my God will take care of me. God cares for His people always, so may we pray in faith, and may God bless you today.